day I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's the day that it's finally kind of cold enough for me to wear a sweater outside for my morning coffees. I don't really get a lot of real seasons up here in North Texas, but today I'm gonna pretend like I'm one of you people who does get seasons. And it is already wintertime and it's cold and there's frost and maybe even snow where you live. And I'm gonna try to teach you something that will keep you warm for the winter season, that can keep your family's bellies full during the holidays. And it is a classic recipe that I grew up with, green chili stew called Pozole. We're gonna smoke a pork butt. We're gonna put together our ingredients for the stew. We're gonna throw it in a cast iron stock pot and put it on the grill and let it sit all day, and then it's gonna warm us up all night. Cheers. So one thing people talk a lot about is that the Huntsman takes a lot of charcoal to get started. One of the reasons that is because there's a lot of thermal mass in this 5mm steel, and that is going to mean that it takes longer to heat up, kind of like a cast iron skillet or something like that. But what it's also going to mean is that it retains that heat a lot better as it gets hotter, and that's going to give you more consistent, even temperatures across your long, low, and slow cooks, and hotter temperatures at higher temps. So when we talk about using more charcoal to get started, it's not gonna be less efficient in the long run because you're gonna use less over the course of your cook as it retains the heat. And also you are going to be able to reuse a lot of this charcoal because it's gonna burn slower and cleaner. So this is charcoal I used from my last cook that I did, and it's all still in here and it's all good. I just knocked the ash off of it, and now I'll add some new stuff on top of it. For this cook, you'll notice I'm doing that was the bottom of that bag. You'll notice I'm doing just a 2-zone cook, a hot and cold zone. I will put my fire on one side and put my pork butt on the other, and that will keep us going as long as we need to. I'll light those fire starters and get this going. But yeah, I just knocked the dust or the ash off of that and cleaned out my ash can, and I can reuse all that old charcoal and it will keep this new stuff going even longer. And then on my next cook, I'll reuse whatever's left over, and we'll just keep cycling through. So it looks on the surface like it's using a lot more charcoal, but it's not in the long run. Uncover these a little bit and get them lit. Lighting fire starters, quality content. That's what you came here to see, isn't it? I'll lock this in at 275. All right, we just hit 275. I've got this pork butt. It's about a 5-pound pork butt, that bone-in pork butt that I slathered in green chili sauce and put our favorite Mexican seasoning on, Lane's Fiesta. They don't pay us to say that. We just like them a lot. I left that in the fridge overnight. It's gonna dry brine. For our smoke, I'm gonna use these post oak chunks. Normally I'd use some sort of fruit wood for pork, but because this is going in a stew, you're not really gonna get those sweeter notes out of that. Not burn myself though. Something to be careful about. You're not really gonna get those sweeter notes out of the fruit woods, especially with that Mexican seasoning that I put on there. We can just go ahead and add these post oak chunks in there, and that will give us a nice, good smoky flavor without having to worry about anything else. Also, lock down your wheels. So I'm gonna let that pork butt go for about 3 hours at 275, untouched, just let it run. I'll check it then, make sure it's not drying out too much in any spots, and spritz it. Usually use some sort of mix of water, apple cider vinegar, and hot sauce. And then we'll keep an eye on it. I want it to get to at least 180, preferably up into the 200s. 205 is when I usually, the highest I'll go on a pork butt. And then we'll pull it and rest it and shred it so we can throw it into our cast iron and get it on the grill for the stew. That's what the rest of the day is gonna look like. We're just gonna let that cook and I'll jump back in here to finish it up later. All right, well, it's officially way too hot to keep pretending it's cold. It's been 3 hours. We're gonna open it up, check it out, see what it looks like, and then we'll keep it cooking. All right, we just hit about 180 on the pork butt. Normally I'd wrap it at about 180 and do the last hour or two to get it to 200, 205 in foil. But since we're gonna use the cast iron Dutch oven, I'm just gonna toss it in that. Maybe we'll soak up some flavor from the pork butt that'll seep back into our stew when we're ready to make that. So let's get it put in there and then we'll finish it up on the grill for the last couple of hours, get it to 200 and then we'll pull it. Morning, full disclosure, split this cook up into 2 days. We got our pork butt done yesterday. It took about 6 hours. It's hard to shoot a video when it's dark, so I'm gonna finish the rest of the cook today and show you how we're gonna do it. But basically, I got the pork done, pulled it yesterday. It's amazing. I wanted to just eat it for dinner, but then I was like, I won't have any left for my stew. So we're gonna finish the pozole today. It's gonna be just chopping up some ingredients, getting them on the grill in the cast iron, and let them cook as long as we feel like we need to. And I'll teach you how to make a roux. That will be a thickening agent, a color agent, and will give something to kind of bind all these flavors together really well. We're gonna use hominy. If you haven't had hominy before, it's kind of like a chunky, fluffy corn that adds a lot of good masa flavor to something like this. Green chilies, jalapenos, onions. I'm gonna add a whole jar of salsa, some rotel. It's gonna get spicy, it's gonna get flavorful, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So that's what we got for planned today, and we might as well get to it. All right, first things first, I'm gonna toss my cast iron Dutch oven onto the grill. Since I finished up the pork in there, we've already got quite a bit of good flavor. I'm gonna add just a little bit more oil to it, just to make sure nothing sticks too much. And then we're gonna get that heating on the grill. I put that directly over the coals because we want to brown some stuff first. Next, we're going to chop up our jalapenos. I had these flash fried. These are from my mom's garden. Seed and devein them first. You can dice these and seed and devein them first, or you can live a little and spice up your life and just chop them up yourself. That's what I'm going to do because my kids won't eat this anyway. So I'm going to just make it as spicy as I want. Sure. Those quick and dirty. All right, then we're gonna do this onion. Don't judge me, everyone cuts their onions differently. I'll toss that into the pot. I'm also gonna throw in some garlic, or jarlic, because there's very little I hate more than peeling garlic. Judge me if you want. I'm gonna add some chipotle powder to that while the onions and garlic and jalapenos are cooking. That will kind of brown this up and bring some of the flavors out of that. And then we'll chop up our green chilies and toss those in as well. I'm gonna do about 3 tablespoons of this, but that's about all I have left, so I'm just gonna dump this whole thing in there. Keep that moving around a little bit so it doesn't burn up on us. I'm gonna chop up my green chilies. We want about 3 cups of diced green chilies, so that's what we're going for here. And these are Anaheim green chilies. If you catch them during hatch green chili season, that's the best time to make this. You can use poblanos, really any sort of large green chili that you like. Find a chili flavor that you enjoy, toss it in there. Shame you can't smell this. All right, we're done with the chopping. Now it's time to add our pork from yesterday, our broth, and the rest of our seasonings, and we're gonna let this simmer up and get nice and tasty. So I'm gonna take you over to the grill to show you that. So we got our pulled pork from yesterday, and obviously turned out amazing. I'm gonna eat some right now, cold, right out of the fridge. And we're gonna toss that in our pot. We're cooking with everything. Oh, that would have looked a lot more appetizing yesterday. But, okay, half a jar of your favorite salsa verde. You want about a cup of salsa verde. A salsa verde is anything that uses tomatillos. So sometimes you'll see green salsas that don't use tomatillos. Just look for on the ingredients list and make sure you see tomatillo in the ingredients there. That is gonna be a specific flavor you want in this dish. That's about half. I'm gonna add our jar of rotel. If you like chopping and marinating your own tomatoes and green chilies and lime juice and cilantro, feel free, but I'm just gonna add a jar of rotel. 2 tablespoons of chili powder and 2 tablespoons of cumin. And on top of all that, we will toss in our chicken broth. We're gonna use 10 cups, so that is 2.5 of these. Normally, if you're doing this inside on your stove, you cook this, bring it to a boil, and then let it simmer for about 20 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes. Since we're doing this on the grill, I'm gonna leave it over the coals for about that long, get it boiling, get it good and hot, and then I'm gonna move it to the other side, and we're just gonna let it slow simmer. I have the grill set at 225. We'll just let it slow simmer. I might add some wood chunks on there just to try to bring some smoky, extra outdoor grill flavor to this recipe and see what that adds to it. So that's where we're at for now. We're gonna let that cook and we'll come back and check it out in a minute. All right, so I went ahead and made the roux. I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on how to make this. You can find lots of tutorials on making roux online. Went for a medium roux with about half a cup of flour. I went for a medium roux with half a cup of flour and 1/3 cup of some sort of salad oil. I use olive oil. You just want something mild. You cook that over medium heat and whisk it constantly until you get this color. This is about the color of peanut butter. Then you add in about 2 cups of your broth back into the roux, and then you add this in. What this does, it'll thicken it up, it'll add some flavor, it'll bind everything together. Typically these are used in like gumbos, things like that. It's kind of what you're thinking of when you're thinking of roux. We're gonna add this back in here and then give it a good stir in, get it all incorporated. Then I'm gonna toss some wood chunks in there and let that smoke for a little bit. All right, so we've had that simmering about an hour with the roux inside. It's been in there smoking. Those post-oak chunks I tossed in. The last ingredient is gonna be the hominy. Again, that's the corn-like stuff, white hominy. Find it in the corn aisle at your local supermarket. And again, it's these like fluffy little corn granule things that just add a lot of thickness and richness to this this meal. So I went ahead and drained one of these. You don't have to. You can leave them in there. Leave the juice in there, and it'll thicken it up even more, depending on how hearty you want your stew to be. There's a lot of starch in there, so it will thicken up a little bit when you add that. Then I'm gonna move it back over the coals so we can get it simmering again. We're gonna let that simmer for another 30 minutes. And we'll take it off and see where we're at. All right, we did it. It's definitely not cold enough for this right now, where I'm at. But maybe it is where you are. Nice, keep you nice and warm. I like to top it with some lime. Help cut the spice a little bit. Tortilla chips, tortillas, whatever you like. Make this one, share it with your family, let it warm you up. There's no such thing as grill season. Oh my God. I'm just gonna lose myself in this. You guys, have a good time. Got pretty spicy, but that's good. Spice will be life. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna mess something up. Bye.